What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video, and we're here for another episode of Shooting the Breeze, episode number 15. I don't know how many weeks straight we've done this. I'd imagine 6, because I brought Shooting the Breeze back when we started doing NFL predictions, and we're in the week 6 of the NFL season. But before we get to this week's NFL predictions, we need to talk about something in the world of professional wrestling. This week, we're getting right into this episode of The Breeze. The main reason is I forgot to charge my camera last night. There's a great chance this dies, and you might not see it, but if you're seeing it, you know you're seeing it. So it is what it is. Let's get right into it, though. This week in the world of wrestling, something great happened. We had a head-to-head matchup between NXT and AEW, just like the good old days of 2019. Not really going to say the good old days of 2020, because 2020 was a doom and gloom year, and then 2021 was kind of the end of it. We had a head-to-head between NXT and AEW, like I said, and both shows went balls to the walls. Crazy. I'm not going to go into detail about it, because when I was watching both of these shows, I wasn't watching from a review standpoint. I was more so watching of oh my god, what's going to happen next? Let me enjoy this as a fan standpoint. So, NXT, I'll go through quickly, because I'd say less happened, and I'll say this. NXT, I've been keeping up with a little bit more since No Mercy, because I thought No Mercy was such a great event, and I appreciate that NXT kind of went back to their roots of building guys and girls back up from the bottom and bringing them to the top and making them become big deals. And like I said, I'm kind of glad that they went back to the roots, because back in the day, like 2013, 2014, before they're on the network, the NXT episodes, they'd be like, oh, you should watch this episode because so-and-so is going to be on there. And so, like, when they would do their tapings, their big hook and attraction was, hey, Randy Orton's going to be here. You should come watch this WWE Superstar Randy Orton. Sheamus. I think the biggest star that they had back in the day show up, it's hilarious because he showed up on Tuesday's episode, John Cena. So I like that since NXT 2.0, because that's when it kind of started. Because I remember at the very beginning of NXT 2.0, they had the AJ Styles, Grayson Waller angle. Then obviously this continued, Dolph Ziggler become NXT champion, and now even more recently, Becky Lynch, NXT Women's champion. But this was like kind of like, we're going to take all of that and take it over the top with this week because of what was going on. So the first big story that we had was Cody Rhodes appearing on I almost said AEW, which, it would have been the case if this was 2021. But he opens up NXT and announces the men's breakout tournament returns, along with the return of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. 2 tournaments that have produced great winners and great moments. And it makes sense for him to announce the latter one, so that'll be interesting. And that he'll be general manager for the night. We got the match between Ilya Dragunov versus Dominic Mysterio, with LA Knight being a special guest referee. And with LA Knight being such a big deal, I won't lie, I think that's kind of the most forgotten, especially with the way the match ended with Trick Williams coming out and Rhea Ripley being involved. LA Knight did feel like a little bit of a forgotten factor in this. But Ilya Dragunov versus Dominic Mysterio, which was, again, I should save this for the end, but I'm going to say it from the beginning. This episode of NXT, and again, especially for somebody that hasn't been watching consistently, weekly, was the best, like, jumping on period of, like, here's everything that's going on. We have our 2 top male champions, the world champion, the North American champion. We're going to have them face off. So if you ever been, like, on the fence of, like, watching NXT every week, which I kind of have been, this was kind of like a selling point of, like, hey, you should be watching this every week. So Ilya Dragunov beat Dominic Mysterio to retain his NXT championship. Asuka versus Roxanne Perez was great because it was the past of NXT. Probably, I don't want to say the biggest women's star in NXT history, but probably the best booked one. I remember, and I might be lying, because I didn't buy the DVD, but I remember somebody telling me that they had this NXT DVD come out, and it was like the top 25 countdown of like NXT stars. I'm 99% sure Asuka was either number 1 or number 2. And like I said, she was undefeated. She never lost a match in NXT. NXT from Secret to Sensation. I'm just double checking that I was right. Oh my god. This is terrible, YouTube. But, like I said, it's the passive NXT versus the present and Roxanne Perez. I guess you can even say. I would say future, but Roxanne Perez has been in NXT for a year. Over a year. So, it's a good matchup. Other things, Pub Rules, Butch, Ridge Holland, Tyler Bate versus Gallus. Very enjoyable, very cool. And then the main event, like I said, if you're jumping on the fence about NXT, the two biggest stars in NXT right now. All right, Asuka's number 2. Finn Balor's number 1. So I at least was right in saying she was either number 1 or number 2. So I also did spoil that for you guys, but this DVD's been out for a minute. You ain't watched it, you ain't watching it. And I can't click off the freaking page. All right, there we go. Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes 3, which, I love a good trilogy. It kind of is weird that Braun Breaker got swept in this trilogy. It's also weird that John Cena and Paul Heyman were involved. And in hindsight, I think what I've been thinking about these two individuals is what I've been thinking for the longest time. I said think way too much there. When the hell are they coming to the main roster? I know they're the biggest stars, the biggest attractions in NXT right now, but they're just so main roster ready. And again, teasing Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman could be a great tease for what happens with Braun Breaker on the main roster. Maybe, just maybe, whenever Roman loses the championship, Paul Heyman is like, yeah, I'm done with you. I'm going to Braun Breaker. Because there's no reason for Paul Heyman to leave Roman Reigns as long as he's champion. So we shall see when we see Carmelo Hayes. And it's also weird that they've swapped roles, because in the beginning, Braun Breaker was the face of NXT, the big dog, the big yard, pun intended there, and Carmelo Hayes was the guy up and coming. But Carmelo Hayes flipped that, just came off this title run, and Braun Breaker is still trying to look for himself after losing the title. Like I said, he wants to be the big dog of the big yard, but the Undertaker, who's always Undertaker has a million nicknames. That was one of them at one point. So NXT ended with American Badass Undertaker coming out. It's also weird because I'm so used to, because he hasn't, it's so weird because I'm used to Undertaker, especially because when you saw the commercial for NXT this week, it ends with the gong, which his intro started with the gong and then it went to American Badass. But it's just the more realistic aspect, and Undertaker ends this week of episode of NXT. So the main thing that I took away from this NXT was, if you're on the fence about watching NXT every week, you got a great introduction to everybody. That's a big deal with NXT, was also being the special attraction of seeing these big names on here and kind of providing a bigger light to NXT. On the AEW side of things, we got a lot of great matchups. So the first one, 0 hour / I don't know, I think they call this the buy-in. So I always get this confused. 30 minutes before Dynamite took place, we got an ROH / New Japan Strong openweight title match between Eddie Kingston and Minoru Suzuki. I might be in the minority in saying this. I think every week they should do a buy-in pre-show, because it's just it's hyping you up for whatever's going to happen on the show, while also getting a big-time matchup. This case, we got a world title match for ROH, which I'll talk more about that tomorrow on my ROH reviews. But Eddie Kingston retained a good matchup against Minoru Suzuki. Now, I'm not going to go in order, because the way I wrote it down, I was kind of I want to get the hitting points. But the first matchup that took place was a number 1 contenders match for the TNT title. Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland, 2 men that were victorious at Wrestle Dream. Now, I'll say this. This is not a fantasy booking video, but I have 2 fantasy booking scenarios where I should be talking about what actually happened instead of what I would have liked to see happen. But I think it would have made a little bit more sense if this was a number 1 contenders match for the international title. Because in my fantasy booking video for Full Gear, you should find that video, watch that video, it was a good video. I was saying I wanted to see Swerve face off for the international title. And the way that the show ended, the person I wanted to see, Bryan Danielson, ended up being the international champion. Now, if you haven't watched, that's why I haven't said his name yet, I'll say it later on. But I thought it would have made a lot more sense if this was a number 1 contenders match for the international title. But it isn't. It's for the TNT title, and Bryan Danielson will face Christian Cage in a big-time matchup on this week's Collision, which I'm glad. I really like Collision, but it definitely sucks that college football is going on, and the past 2 weeks, we've had 2 WWE Premium Live events, and Collision has taken the back seat. This week, college football is still going on, obviously, but in the wrestling world, and they've announced a big-time match already. Hopefully, eyes are going to be on it. Next, We had Chris Jericho versus Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow versus Matt Sydal. Wardlow had a squash. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all want to hear my stomach rumbling. I do apologize for that. Wardlow squashed Matt Sydal. I want to blink and you miss it moment. Chris Jericho, Powerhouse Hobbs. It wasn't really a squash, but Powerhouse Hobbs did dominate and win. This is the other fantasy booking scenario I was talking about. I think it would have made more sense if Wardlow was in the Don Callis family over Powerhouse Hobbs because, A, Wardlow, we don't know if he's a face or a heel right now. The past 2 weeks, he's just came out, beat the crap out of somebody, and then left. But he's mad about something, obviously. We don't know what yet. There's a lot he could be mad about. With Powerhouse Hobbs, we've seen him now with two groups. Team Taz, he did great in, but he left it to break away. And then he was with QTV, which was just terrible. Probably should have never been involved with that. And it just kind of held him back a little bit. And then he broke away and was good on his own. Powerhouse Hobbs is good on his own. And now that he's in this Don Callis family, it kind of seems like he's the heavy hitter. It's just very similar to the Team Taz situation. And like I said, the main thing is he was good and booked good on his own. With Wardlow, he obviously started off with MJF. He was the heavy hitter for MJF, but was still had his moments. And then after, he kinda had his moments. His TNT title reign has been heavily scrutinized, and then he just lost it, win it back. It's just, there's a lot of question marks there. And he didn't really have a direction, and he's kind of doing the same thing again, but he's just not saying anything. He's just mad. I think it would have made more sense if Wardlow was in the Don Callis family over Powerhouse Hobbs, because Don Callis would elevate, what is the word I'm looking for? Lift up Wardlow. Because Wardlow, when he was with MJF, he was MJF's guy. So MJF was getting all the limelight. Where now the Don Callis family, the guys in the Don Callis family is getting the limelight. And I just think Wardlow needs Don Callis more than Powerhouse Hobbs would. But it's not the case. It's just me overthinking it. And it's just something that doesn't matter because it's not going to change. So that was kind of what I was thinking of during those two segments, especially because they aired so close together. Now, again, we had two title changes on this episode. The first one being international title match, Rey Fenix versus Orange Cassidy. Supposed to be Rey Fenix versus Jon Moxley 3, but Jon Moxley was not cleared, and Orange Cassidy retained the international championship. It definitely sucks because the titles became a bit of a hot potato, whatever one you want it to be. But it's like there's reasoning for it because majority of the reason the titles changed because of injury and whatnot. And there's still like a connection. Like Rey Fenix now has to get his rematch. Jon Moxley still has to get his rematch. Orange Cassidy never got his rematch against Jon Moxley. It's just a big loop, a circle with all three of these men involved. But Orange Cassidy has the title back. I've seen fans that are like, yay, hooray, happy about it. But I've also seen fans that aren't that happy about it. Because like I said, we just saw him be champion for almost a year. 40, I don't know the exact number of defenses. I would say like 40 is a good estimated amount of defense. I don't know. That might be too much. 20 plus. He definitely had 20 plus defenses of this international title. So interested to see what happens there. Women's title changed hands. Hikaru Shida beat Saraya to become a 3-time champion. Y'all know, if y'all watch my videos, especially when I talk about AEW, I didn't want Saraya women's champion. I don't think we got much out of Saraya being women's champion. And I'm glad Shida's champion, but it's just like, I hope there's a sense of direction with it. That is the main thing I hope with this. We shall see. I will say this. Last fantasy booking note. I think it makes sense. I don't know when the hell Britt Baker's coming back. I think that she's not on TV to help with Adam Cole's rehab, which is best wishes to Adam Cole. But they were kind of teasing Shida, Britt Baker, because they were like teaming for a bit, and Shida would just like look pissed at Britt, and Britt was like, why are you all mad at me? And they've had 2 matchups before. They're tied 1-1. I said it earlier in the video. I'm a big fan of trilogies, and especially when it's tied 1-1, it makes sense. And this now, with Shida being champion again, would make sense to do the matchup, especially because I said it in my Full Gear fantasy booking video. The women's title, it's just like we've seen a lot of it already. It's just going to be a case of seeing it over and over again. That Nelly song that plays in my head over and over again. But I hope they have a sense of direction with Shida being champion again. But we shall see. Next, Jay White versus Hangman Page. It's a good matchup. It sucks because the main thing that is talked about is what happened after the match, which guess what? I ain't going to spend any time about it because it's just something that should not have happened. And it's going to be controversial. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, You can look it up because I don't want to talk about it. It shouldn't have happened, is essentially what I'm getting at. And it definitely sucks because, like I said, it kind of overshadowed the match, in my opinion. So, hopefully, that mess gets cleaned up and solved. Main event, Adam Copeland / a.k.a. Edge versus Luchasaurus in the main event. The matchup, I'm not going to say it got overshadowed by Christian Cage, but I enjoy seeing Christian Cage on the TV every week because you don't know what the hell he's going to say and how the hell he's going to grab your attention. I felt that was the case. And like I said, I will be intrigued to see if Christian Cage is TNT champion come Saturday, which at the end of the show, it just ended with a big, massive brawl. So that was it for this Tuesday night head-to-head between NXT and AEW. For, again, recapping NXT, if you hadn't been watching NXT in a minute, this is a good jumping on point. AEW, we had a lot of big-time matchups take place. This was good for wrestling. Wrestling fans enjoyed Tuesday nights. And guess what? I ain't going to bring up the ratings because I'm a fan. If you're a fan, you should give a damn about the ratings. That's just my opinion on that. So I'm not even going to bring them up. We're going to go on to the Week 6 NFL predictions. Last week, I went 8 for 14. There's a lot of teams on a bye. This week, the only 2 teams on a bye are my Green Bay Packers, who hopefully they take this week to recover and win their next matchup because we lost to the Raiders, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who eked out a victory against the Ravens. So, first matchup, Thursday night. I heard the freaking air freshener go off. Broncos at Chiefs. I don't know the last time when the Broncos beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are on a hot streak. It would take a lot for the Broncos to win this matchup. I'm just going to be the smart man and pick the Chiefs. Next, another matchup in the UK. The Ravens at the Titans, technically, but it's in the UK. I'm picking the Ravens. I think each week I'm just going to end up picking the Ravens. They should have won against the Steelers, but it was just a lot of sloppiness in the fourth quarter took place. I don't think that'll be the case when they face the Titans. Commanders at Falcons. I'm picking the Falcons. I think a lot of people have seen the stat going around. I saw it. Desmond Ridder has yet to lose a home game in college or in the pros that he has started. The Commanders, they start off the year hot and on a good streak. They lost to the Bills at home. I think that game was at home. They lost to the Bills, kind of dominant. The Eagles game that they faced, that game was definitely in Washington. It was a close game, especially against an undefeated team. They still lost. And then they lost to the Bears, who are supposed to be the worst team in the league. I'm picking the Falcons. I think they have too much on their side that I just named. Vikings at Bears. It's going to be surprising. I'm picking the Vikings. I think a lot of people are going to pick the Bears because Justin Jefferson, who's the best player on the Vikings, is now on IR. And that makes me sad. I'm a Packers fan. That makes me sad because I'm on one of my fantasy teams. But, you always wish guys the best of luck in their recovery. I'm not going to be a hater and wish injury on somebody. So hopefully he heals well. But I feel that the Vikings feel that their season is slowly falling away from them. The Bears I don't think they feel that anymore after the big victory last week, but I feel the Vikings need to come out with a sense of urgency and come out and compete in this game. I think that's going to take place. And like I said, the Bears haven't been a competent team all year, where the Vikings, almost all their games have been close. They've only lost by a touchdown in almost all these games. So I'm picking the Vikings. Seahawks at Bengals. I think this is the best game out of the 12 o'clock games on Sunday. I'm going to pick the Bengals. They're at home. They finally put a good game together last week against the Cardinals because even when they beat the Rams earlier, it wasn't the best game. Jamar Chase had 3 touchdowns last week. And the Seahawks are coming off a bye. They should be good. Like I said, I think both these teams are very even. That's why I think this is going to be the best out of the 12 o'clock games. 49ers at Browns. Pick up the 49ers. They're still undefeated. They're still dominant. The Browns keep getting banged up. So, I'm picking the 49ers. Saints at Texans. The Saints dominated the Patriots last week. The Texans struggled against the Falcons. It was a close game, but they did not win. So, picking the Saints. Colts at Jaguars. Without Anthony Richardson, and I don't know the last time that the Colts beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Also, the Jaguars are finally back at home after spending 2 weeks in the UK. So, picking the Jaguars. Panthers at Dolphins. Dolphins still have such an explosive offense. The Panthers have still yet to pick up a victory. It would be very crazy if they did, but I'm picking the Dolphins. Patriots at Raiders. After watching the Raiders, mainly Max freaking Crosby, bull rush everybody. I'm picking the Raiders, and the Patriots just have not. They've looked terrible the last 2 weeks. So I think the Raiders are slowly building momentum up. Lions at Buccaneers. This will be the best game out of the 3 o'clock games. This is kind of my upset of the week. I'm picking the Buccaneers. They got the retro jerseys on. They're at home. They need to keep this momentum going that they've built, so surprisingly built up. And as a Packers fan, I do want to see the Lions lose because I'm seeing way too much Lions hype around the league. Cardinals at Rams. James Conner went on IR. Hopefully, he gets well soon, like I said. Cooper Kupp just came back, which fantasy-wise has me jumping up and down. And he looked great. And the Rams have looked good, decent this year. Good would be a bit of a good, decent, same level. I'm picking the Rams. Eagles at Jets. I think this game will be a lot closer than other people expect. I'm mainly just saying that because the Jets did pick up a victory last week against the Broncos. But the Eagles are still undefeated, and I don't think the Jets have enough to completely stop them. So I'm picking the Eagles. Giants at Bills, Sunday Night Football. The Giants have just been smacked all year round. The Bills did come off a close loss to the Jaguars, but they got to come out with a fire under their ass, and I think that they will. So I'm picking the Bills, and then probably the best game out of the week, Monday Night Football, Cowboys at Chargers. The Chargers are another team, like I said with the Ravens. The Chargers, I like a lot of the guys on their team. A lot of people were clowning the Cowboys after losing very badly to the 49ers, that I'm picking the Chargers. So, quick recap of my picks. Chiefs, I just saw a shadow. I blinked and I saw a shadow. I was like, what the hell is that? Quick recap. Chiefs, Ravens, Falcons, Vikings, Bengals, 49ers, Saints, Jaguars, Dolphins, Raiders, Buccaneers, Rams, Eagles, Bills, and the Chargers. So, also, like I said, I'm trying to quickly wrap this up that way that my camera does not die, but we're at the end. Y'all see me again tomorrow for an ROH TV review. Hopefully, we have a safe rest of the week, and then enjoy our weekend. If you want to see me talk more football, or not, or you want to see me lose my sanity, and I'm kind of spoiling the video for you, check out the Packers franchise wild card weekend against the Panthers, and you'll know. I also did a video yesterday answering the GM survey for the NBA season. The NBA season is quickly approaching. More NBA videos will be coming around the mountain when they come. So I'll see you when I see you. Stay safe, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.